Hey MGTOWs, this is Vention. I'm just hanging out in MGTOW Monger's place. This is like the first stop of the MGTOW Underground Railroad. I just saw one of Seven's videos this morning talking about it, and it's got a huge amount of potential, the whole Underground Railroad thing, and it's got some hazards too. Whenever you meet people in person and interact with them in person, they can be some of us who watch MGTOW videos can be less than stellar people. For example, I did a little bit of outreach myself last year, and basically I went and fixed a guy's vehicles and helped him work on his truck and his car, and then some of my tools just went missing, and I figured I just lost them, and then I went up there the last time, and I found one of my tools laying in the rain in his backyard, so obviously they were removed from the place where we were working, and they were just laying in the rain, So basically, I went there to help him with my own time and my own skills, and yet he threw me under the bus when it came to taking care of my tools, If another MGTOW comes to help you, you've got to have his back. You've got to look out for him. And what he should have done when I forgot a couple of tools there, he should have kept them safe for me for when I came back and presented them to me when I was there. But instead, I never found some of them, and one of them was laying in the rain in the backyard. So basically, that's the last time I went over there. So you're going to run into people who are not good people. Sometimes the whole divorce and everything disaster that we all hear about, sometimes it's not entirely the woman's fault, although they can really profit from the whole disaster. Sometimes the fault is with both of them, or possibly even just with the guy. And those people who are operating stations in the Underground Railroad, if this becomes a thing, we're going to have to find a way to vet some of these people and determine whether or not they are worthy of our time and energy, because some of them just aren't. So I basically ended my contact with that guy, and but that doesn't mean I won't try again, So I'm thinking perhaps the stops on the Underground Railroad could conceivably use like Airbnb as sort of a middleman, so that the person fleeing persecution could basically stop at an Airbnb nearby, and then interact with the station master, I guess you could say, at arm's length, and then the station master could turn around and basically help the person adapt, help the person know what apps to use to get the language, and basically find the best Airbnbs for their buck, and then an individual relationship can form, of a friendship where the station master might actually open their home to the refugee, as MGTOW Monitor has done for me, and it's pretty darn cool. I gotta say, I'm paying my share of the rent and utilities. I'm just paying them with Lightning, and he now has Lightning capability, and he can, I just shoot some Lightning into his Lightning wallet, and then that's anonymous as can be, and it's like it's like right up there. I mean, Bitcoin is pseudo anonymous, but when you get into the Lightning network, it can have like 20 hops between you and the destination, and basically it happens almost instantaneously with basically zero fees, way less than a penny, and basically you can pay for things, and it's just as easy as cash practically. So I'm very pleased with that, and it's really working out well for me. And plus, with Lightning, I'm buying Uber Eats and Uber rides all over town with Lightning, and it's basically invisible to the system, and it's like a dream come true for a MGTOW to be able to escape the system that has been just riding us like a freaking tired old donkey until finally we just had enough and we had to get away. When I do go back to the States in a couple of months, I intend to liquidate 2 IRAs. It might be too late, not IRAs, but 401ks. I'll pay the fees and everything, and just move it all into Lightning or Bitcoin, and because I am of the opinion that the U.S. economy is going to be, no matter who is in office, in the Oval Office, the money printing is going to continue, and it's just going to burn. And the best thing to do is just to get your resources out of there, put it into something stable like either precious metals, or Bitcoin. But if I didn't want to do Bitcoin, I would probably do gold, because it's so easy, it's so small and light. You can have gold that will you can basically carry it with you in a lot of situations, and if it's like less than 10 grand, you can take it with you overseas. But if it's more than 10 grand, you're in danger of civil asset forfeiture, and then you have to, like, once they take it all away from you, you have to figure out a way, you have to go to court and prove that it's yours and show them the receipts and all that shit, and it's a big, huge pain in the butt. But with Bitcoin, you can carry it with you anywhere, and there's almost nothing they can do about it. There's no way they can dig through your shit enough to find your Bitcoin. So those of us who have Bitcoin, who have listened, there might be a situation where you might want to flee the country in the next few months or year, because what we're going to be seeing is, depending on who's in office, we could actually see hit lists from the left published, so that lefties can run around and look at the list and then find your ass and Molotov your house or smash things or persecute you, because that does appear to be coming. And man, if it gets that bad, it is time to get the fuck out of the U.S. or get into the rural zones where lefties don't like to go. Places where the ground's uneven and their sandals don't really make it, you know. And that little ponytail on the back of their head would get caught in all the branches and shit. Going rural like that, that is also an option. And there are MGTOW way out in the sticks in the rural zones, and they might want to open a station of their own on the Underground Railroad, where MGTOW who are being persecuted can flee to. And I know it sounds over the top and crazy, but so many things I've been predicting that sounded crazy as can be actually happened. So yeah, so this is really a possibility and a real significant danger that that we might want to start planning for. So yes, the MGTOW Underground Railroad sounds like a darn good idea to me, and I'm on it. This is like the very beginnings of it if it does grow, and I gotta say, I'm liking the station. This is MGTOW Monger's Underground Railroad station, and I am very pleased with it. So and yeah, basically, if you need like some kind of surgery and you're gonna have to pay full price in the States, coming to Guadalajara here is one heck of a nice option, because you can get the same work done for like maybe 5% of what you'd pay in the States. And you also have a guy here who has both languages, and he can arrange things and basically smooth the way for you in a way that a stranger just wouldn't care to. So it's like it's got some serious potential. So but as I was saying, there is danger to the station masters who are considering running a station on the Underground Railroad. They are vulnerable because their real name could get out, and if the guy's a real piece of shit, he could like drop their docs and whatnot, and start saying that he's a real jerk and everything, and then put his information out there, and it's a way of for a real coward and an underhanded bastard to cause damage to somebody who had been trying to help them. So yeah, and that's, no good deed goes unpunished, they say, but that's not true. That is absolutely not true. You take some risks by doing some good deeds, but basically it is definitely worth considering. So but these things, railroad station operators can't just do it out of charity. There's going to be some charity, but there has to be a way for there's got to be something in it for them as well. So I'm paying more than my share of utilities, making sure that that MGTOW Monger gets something out of this. It's not just charity prevention, which I think it probably could have been, but I don't want it to be that way, because things have to pay. There has to be some kind of compensation, otherwise the charity eventually runs out. Similar to the interplanetary file system online. It's a way of people storing data, but it's basically charity. They run this big network, and then there were, like I saw the BitTube come in, trying to replace YouTube, but they were using IPFS to basically be a backbone for the storage of all those high bandwidth videos, and they were using IPFS. I don't know if they still are. I stopped using BitTube 2 years ago, But basically they were using IPFS, and that was a charity by the people who ran the IPFS nodes, and they turned around and issued their own BitTube token, and they were put out 10% to be battled over by the peasants, and they took the rest 90% more than likely, kind of like XRP, and they were trying to profit from it. But the thing is, they were using charity to try to be a support for their business, right? And the result was the network, the IPFS network, just was bogged down and slow, because you can't expect charity to continue forever. Eventually donor fatigue will come in, and you will then basically the donations will stop, and then the people try to use the charity, for personal gain, and then basically the charity eventually dries up and the whole thing collapses. So the MGTOW Underground Railroad has got to pay somehow. So and the Lightning Network is the perfect way to do it. You can send just a few bucks to somebody, and basically it'll get there, and it's practical to use it that way. So I am very impressed. Lightning Network plus MGTOW plus the Underground Railroad, it's these freedom-based things, these freedom valuing systems are, with Lightning, it's just perfect. So that's about, and also I would recommend watching Seven's video this morning. He's the one, his Underground Railroad video is what prompted me to do this. So basically, yeah, I'll leave a link and you can go watch him too. It's basically, it says much of the same thing, but what he didn't really point out that there is a risk for station masters, I guess you could call them, to provide this service, because it could be abused. There are certainly some MGTOW out there who are not worthy of the charity or or of being saved. Some of us are assholes. Just like that one MGTOW who didn't take care of my tools when I went out of my way to go and help him. So the result was the charity stopped, because I can't be replacing my tools all the time. He was probably thinking, well, Vincent has a fuck ton of Bitcoins and he'll never notice the tools missing. But most of the putting together a good toolkit, takes time and effort, and you have to know what you want, and you have to, and it grows like an organic thing, and if you take or allow some of the guy's tools to go away, then it's not just money, it's effort and time. And then when you're working on something later and you're reaching for the tools that are not there, then you have to go to the store and do all that, and it takes effort as well as money, to build and create a good set of tools. So basically, yeah, it's a personal thing, when somebody doesn't care for your tools when you've gone out of the way to help them, it's just it's a betrayal that is more than just money. It is attacking some aspect of you as a human being, when they let your tools get, when they either take your tools or don't take care of them. If you forget some of them there, not good. So yeah, that guy is definitely off my list of good people, and off my list of people I would have helped, but basically, and then if you don't have he didn't have my back, so the result was one of the jobs that I was going to be doing up there was not completely done, and So I just left him to it. You know, if he's gonna throw me under the bus, I'm not gonna go back there and help him further. So yeah, Underground Railroad. I'd like to see this idea grow and be developed, but the station masters have got to you got to have something into it, in it for them. You know, it can't just be a charity thing. So, well, I'm about to do my morning routine, jump on the exercise bike, get some cardio, then do my other exercises that I've been adding to my usual routine. Then I'm going to go sit there in that chair and get some sun. And yeah, good times. Then I'll be ready to start my day. That's about all I got for you, MGTOWs. And don't get, but before that, everybody who has money in 401ks and IRAs and pension funds that that are in the stock market and bonds and whatnot, everything you've got in their system is going to be inflated probably by about 35% next year. And if you don't have it in assets that will track inflation, such as like possibly gold ETFs, if they even survive, you're going to lose 35% at least. And you have to sort of measure that by how much fees and penalties you would be paying, and by removing your old 401ks and whatnot from their system, right? But if you add up the inflation that's almost certainly coming next year, because it has to, because all those dollars were printed, and combine that with the fact that there's this massive outflow of capital fleeing the United States because of the predatory inflation and predatory practices that the feds and everything are doing, you have to kind of decide whether or not the fees and penalties will be more or less than the inflation tax, basically, that you're going to be paying if you leave it where it is. So I basically am strongly suspecting that the penalties and the fees and the tax implications and everything will be less severe than the 35% I expect to lose from inflation next year. So I think I'm just going to go file all the paperwork and liquidate that shit. Put it into some kind of crypto, maybe a stable, but even stable coins, you know, like Tether and USDC. They just track the dollar, and the dollar is just going to be obliterated. Well, it'll still be going, but I think it's going to lose huge value next year or this year. So man, it's a real something you're really going to have to think of, and everybody's going to have to make the decision themselves. But I am of the opinion that I have two pension funds out there, and they won't start paying anything until I'm 62, and I'm 56 right now. And over the next 5 years or so, I don't think that they're going to do very well at all. So I think I'm going to liquidate that shit and move it into crypto. There are also crypto-based, gold-based funds, but then you have to trust a third party. So, but it would track gold, and it'd be more stable than Bitcoin, more stable than more stable than ETH. I own some ETH too. Anybody who's in Ethereum, boy, you saw some nice gains over the last week or two, or the last couple of months. Geez, I picked up some Ethereum because of the staking and ETH 2.0 promises that they were yowling about a year ago, and I got in for 160 each, and man, they are over $1,000 each now. So yeah, I'm sitting on some good gains. If I liquidated it, of course, I'd have to pay the IRS, but so I'm just going to leave it right where it is. I think over the next year or so, ETH is going to do pretty well too. My favorite is of course Bitcoin, but you know, it's a small amount compared to my Bitcoins, but I think I'll leave it right where it is. But my 401k, I have two of them, two pension funds. I think when I get home this spring, I think I'm going to take steps to start liquidating that shit. So, because it'll be safer in anything that I put it into than it is, and it'll do better in anything I put it into than the mismanaged funds, you know, of people who have no profit motive for the fund to do well. They just put it into bonds and crappy stocks and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not something that is worthy of my investment. So that I'm going to go salvage that money. So a lot of other guys might want to do something like that as well. And if that's the case, that could turn out to be a significant amount of money. And then if you wanted to, and if the need was significant, like you might, you know, actually want to leave the country before it's totally locked down, like Australia. People are locked in there. They can't even leave at all. Before something like that happens in the States, you might want to set yourself up so that you can flee, move that money into Bitcoin, and then make sure you've got that passport and get out while you can if things are going to go as bad as Australia. But man, it's really totalitarian when a government doesn't allow its people to even leave the country. That's just sickening and crazy, and it's like North Korea level bullshit. So when shit like that starts coming down, it might be best to be elsewhere. But if you've got some Spanish and the entire Latin America is open to you, but if you wanted to stop at the first stop of the MGTOW Underground Railroad, you could work on the language like I am, and then because I want the option of being able to go anywhere if necessary. And Spanish is like the second most popular language in the world. So many countries you can go to, and the costs of living are so low. You could probably live on $100,000 for the rest of your life, you know, depending on where you went and how you had that money stored. If you had it in an a rapidly inflating currency like the dollar, or the peso, you would not do well. But if it was in Bitcoin or one of the related currencies, but mostly Bitcoin, I think you might be able to live the rest of your life. I'm of the opinion that Bitcoin is going to hit about $300,000 by the end of 2021, and if that's the case, even a medium-sized amount of Bitcoin bought now could do very well by the end of this year. So that's about all I got for you, and don't get married.